Hey, good morning, TCA family. So excited to be back with you guys. We have a special guest with us, a student, Jeron. He's been in our program for a little over 6 weeks, has done a couple deals already. First deal, got this home 4,500, flipped it to $8,000 in 28 days. But his second deal, all in on this home for $2,500. He is set to close out this home at $12,500. This is a great return, 400+% ROI. Can't wait to dig in and ask him a few questions, figure out where he's at with his journey and how we can help other people get started too.
Yeah, I mean, over a $10,000 profit on his second deal, $3,500 profit on his first deal. He's only been in the program for 6 weeks, killing it. So if you're a very beginner to mobile home investing, this is a great video for you to tune into.
Yeah.
So we can pick his brain, see how he was able to take action and get results so quickly. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of videos that we post each week. And we're going to also leave a link below this video if you're interested in joining the family, joining the fun of the mobile home investing. Go ahead and apply to work with us and join our team. We're going to leave a link right below this video. So
let's go ahead and bring Jaron in, man.
All right.
Good morning. Good morning. How's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you guys?
Man,
Doing
we
wonderful.
are feeling blessed, man. I told you, too blessed to be stressed.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good, good. Good. Well, we're excited to have you on. And before we jump into the interview, we want to know from you guys. We like to make this interactive. You know, we're almost at the end of the month. So let's talk about the previous 30 days. What was your biggest win? What was your biggest challenge? We'll bring on these responses. We'll give you some feedback. Maybe Jeron has a little bit of advice to give you as well.
Yeah, anything, any challenge. I really want to hear the challenges. We're going to ask Jeron about his, but go ahead. Don't be shy. We'll try to help bring you some clarity once we get to these. So go ahead and start typing if you can. Jeron, man, that's the first question we have for you. Just getting into the program. I know it hasn't been a bunch of time, but what's been your biggest win so far and what's been your biggest challenge up to date?
Okay, so challenge-wise, just the head trash. When you watch these stories, you hear people that have success really quickly. And so you're kind of dealing with that when you put out signs and you don't get any calls, or you put out signs and the calls don't turn anything into anything, or you're talking to park managers and, they take your card and you don't hear anything. You start getting impatient, or at least let me speak for myself. I started getting impatient, and even though things happen pretty quickly, there's still obstacles. There's still work. It's Friday night, late at night, I'm out putting bandit signs out. I remember one night I went out and a dog started chasing me. I was trying to put a sign up, and a dog, I guess it was my dog, some property, started chasing me back to my car, and I jumped in. I'm like, man, I'm going home. I'm not putting any more signs out. So those kinds of challenges. Then of course, once you start working deals, just dealing with people that don't show up, they cancel, just those kinds of challenges to try to get the deal, across the finish line. And just dealing with discouragement sometimes, and, not getting things not working out exactly how you envision them. But in the end, they work out. If you keep doing the work, if you keep putting in, if you keep grinding, the results just come.
No, that's great. That's great. And I love how you're transparent about that. It's, those are the things that we don't always talk about, right? That a lot of people, you see the money, you see the check, you did the deal, but you also got chased by a dog.
Right. And my wife was cracking up. She was cracking up.
She should have got it on video. It's like, run. That's hilarious. So, I love the transparency. What's been your biggest win over the past 6 weeks? I know you closed a couple of deals, but what has been the biggest win, like personal win for you?
Yeah, I think just seeing the program work was a win for me. That was good. I didn't not believe it, but your belief goes to a new level when you actually see the cash in front of you, or you see the money order in front of you. Your belief goes to another level. The other thing I think was a big win was the relationships that I'm building with the park manager who's given me one of my deals and tried to give me another deal that didn't work out. But she's all in. And then the people I was working with on the second deal, you know, they said, hey, anytime we have a mobile home situation like this, we're going to call you. You know, we've just enjoyed working with you. And so I know that those relationships are going to pay off in the big way in the future. I don't know if it's going to be as big as this deal is I'm working on now. I don't know if it's going to pay off like that every time, but just building these relationships they're going to hopefully bring me more deals in the future.
You talked about, you know, giving your card out to different, you know, park managers, and, you know, some of them just weren't investor friendly. So just being transparent for anyone that's just getting out there networking with park managers. Do you remember how many park managers you went through in order to find the one that's actually investor friendly?
Man, it's funny. It was the first one I talked to face to face. And but the thing was, she didn't really make eye contact with me. She was like, okay, you know, that's cool. Okay, just put the cards on the table over there. And I was like, okay. So I'm trying to build rapport, but nothing. And then about a week later, I get a call like, hey, we were referred to you by the park manager. I was like, really? She didn't even make eye contact with me. And we're cool now. We talk now, but it was the first talk to a lot of park managers. Some of them are just, they can tell I'm new just by they'll ask me some questions like, are you familiar with this? And I'm like, no, I've heard about that. And then they're like, yeah, you're new. And then, and then they just really are like, yeah, good luck. Or, you know, you can drive around the park, but you can tell they're not really going to give me any, you know, any leads or anything like that. So I've talked to a bunch, but the script that you gave us in the course, Samara, is great. And I remember just practicing it a few times, and I pretty much use that every time I talk to a park manager. And it's easy. I mean, I'm nervous. I still get nervous for a few seconds, and then once you go in and start talking, you know, it's just talking to people.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's, you know, we talk to a lot of our new students about that too. Like, it's about getting over that initial fear of talking to them. And like you said, it happened to be the very first one that you didn't even think, you probably like, did I do that wrong? Shouldn't even look at me. And that happens to be the great relationship that you're building. So that is really, really cool. I wanted to just go, and for all of you guys, go ahead and comment your biggest win and your biggest challenge below. We want to bring you guys on as well and talk about anything that you guys are facing over the last 30 days.
But before that, we want to know, just with you, you know, why mobile home investing? Have you done any type of real estate investing in the past? Like, you know, what got you attracted to this niche?
So 15, 16 years ago, I was doing single family, just buy and hold. So nothing like this. And then the real estate market crashed in 2008. I took a beating in 2008. So we took a break. And then when COVID hit, I was just looking for some stuff to research and study. And so I started looking at some multifamily stuff. And I was just on YouTube one day, and then you guys popped up in the feed. And so I was like, what's this? And so I started listening to it, and it's like, man, it's pretty cool. And here we are.
How many deals did you close on the real estate side? I know you said you were kind of venturing in and out.
That was back in 2004. I had 4 properties, I think 4 buy and hold properties. I was just kind of dabbling in it at that time.
Okay, perfect. And so what was the benefit? Like, what's pushed you over the edge of saying, hey, I'm going to actually try this. Like, this is something that I can see me benefiting me and my family in the future. Like, what was that for in mobile home investing that made you jump in?
So it was the low bar of entry. So, you know, as we were looking at getting into multifamily, we're like, hey, we're gonna have to save up a ton of money to get in, which was fine. We were just like, it's gonna take us some years to get into the game. But with mobile home investing, it's like you can jump in really with no money and start doing deals. Yeah. And even if you do put money in and stuff, it's not that much money, and the returns are they're ridiculous. So that's kind of what pushed me over the top. It seemed like, hey, even if I fail, it's not going to set me back like it did in 2008 when I started losing single family homes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was it for us too. It was like, man, we were already low on funds after a couple bad real estate deals. I know we can relate to that. And we were like, man, we really need something where we can jump in. We don't have to use a lot of cash and we can make some great returns and kind of build ourselves out of this hole. So
Sure.
same here with you.
Let's get into a couple of these challenges here. I think there's a few that came in. Let's see what we got here. Priscilla says, park managers is my biggest hurdle. Nice to know I'm not alone. So, Jeron, I want to ask you, man, dealing with park managers, you said some of them can sense that you're new. That's something that a lot of our students deal with, just feeling like, I'm brand new. I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of nervous. How are you pushing forward in spite that feeling being there, knowing that they know you're new?
Yeah. The way I view it is volume. I'm just looking for one or two to just at least hear me out and it might have an opportunity for me. So even if I get rejected or if I feel rejected, just the way I kind of operate is like, all right, when I get rejected, often my response is I got to work harder. And so then I'm like, all right, I was about to go home, but let me go out one more park. Let me drop off one more car because there might be a deal with that particular person. So I'm not trying to win every park manager. I'm just trying to get one or two that will work with me. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Another thing I try to do is just even if they don't seem like they want to work with me, I do follow up with them. I send them an email thanking them for the few minutes they gave me, and many of them don't reply to the email, but I at least want to stay top of the mind, even if they don't, give me much time.
So
yeah, no,
I like that. It's just a numbers game. Instead of focusing on the lack of knowledge that you have, instead of focusing on being so new, you're like, hey, I'm just going to focus on, hey, how can I talk to my first 10 park managers and my next 10 after that? All you need is one or two of those. You only need a handful of park managers to contact to bring you deals. So I like that.
Yeah, that was our mindset too. It's really like once we had a few really cool park managers that we got along, we did business with them. They could trust us. We built that relationship. That supplied multiple deals for us, over a year. So it's like, Bill, you don't have to have 50 park managers on your team if you could even get a few. That could lead to thousands and thousands of dollars. Josh says his greatest challenge is getting sellers to pick up the phone, even after they initially called me.
That's a really good one. Have you dealt with that, Jeron?
Not a ton of that. Not yet.
We'll say this. What we always do is don't just rely on a phone call, Joshua. Make sure you're always sending the phone call, of course. Whenever you're calling, dial back to back. A lot of people, they pick up right after that second call. Sometimes they're thinking it's an emergency. Next thing you can do is send a text message. Everybody that's calling you, make sure you send a text message. Most of the time for us, people will respond to a text before a phone call. And then if all else fails, if you really think this is a really good deal, if they left you a voicemail, there's some motivation there. You can always draft up some type of handwritten letter, put it in a FedEx envelope. Everybody opens those, slide it right next to the door if you were driving for dollars and you know exactly where that home is. If you don't know where the home is, of course you can't do that. But
make sure you're sending those text messages. Those are our goal, and most people will respond if they're open to it. And I love the back to back. You got to call right away. Like if they don't answer, call right back. Usually they think it's an emergency.
So I hope that helps. Let's get into a couple more here. My biggest challenge is trying to get face-to-face with park managers while working a 9-to-5. This is a really good one. Most park managers are not present on the weekends. What would you all suggest? So I'll bounce this one to you, Samara, first. So when we were dealing with this issue, what did we do?
Yeah. So a lot of the times, if they're not in the office, we always try to leave something behind. So maybe that's a letter in the rent box. Maybe that's something that, our business card stapled to something. We want to at least leave something behind if they're not in the office, or try to call in advance and see when they're going to be in the office. Because I know that can be frustrating. You're going to all these parks and then they're not there. And you're like, this is what I came out here to do. Make sure that you're calling in advance. You don't necessarily have to give your whole pitch over the phone, but, go see when they're in the office, maybe try to set an appointment with them. Maybe they'll be, in a little bit later, you can talk to somebody, but just try to work around that and see if you can get in there outside of your 9 to 5.
Perfect. And then Let's see. Somebody says, David says, we have our very first mobile home under contract with the seller. Very close to closing our first deal.
That's a big win.
Congratulations on that.
Congratulations, David.
And then let's get into one more. We'll come back to these in a second. But let's get to this one. Biggest challenge, park managers not friendly. Most want to deal with the realtors. Biggest accomplishment, had the guts to reach out to a realtor. He was impressed with what I do and open to a relationship. So thank you for being transparent on the front end, Erica. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, and that's just like what Jeron was saying earlier. It's a numbers game. Some park managers, you're just going to run into them. They're used to working with realtors. They're used to doing certain things a certain way, but still introduce yourself. You never know, like what happened to him. He didn't get a great response from them initially, but they still utilized him, gave his contact to a client that needed his help. So it's about a numbers game. It's about just introducing yourself and showing your value.
Jeron, when you're running into some of those park managers that may say the same thing, like we're only interested in working with realtors, are you still following up with them anyway?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I try to, one particular park manager was saying that she already had some investors that she worked with. And so I was just trying to differentiate myself from them. So I was like, okay, well, I think I said something like, all right, well, if you have any, this came out of nowhere. I was like, if you have any people in the park that pass away and their family is looking to sell the home, call me, just something that makes me different than these other investors. They're maybe doing other things in the park, just trying to find a little niche that I can wiggle into. So she has to kind of keep my name, just in her mind, I guess.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, that's huge. Just letting them know like, hey, we want to help you. We're going to bring you value. Try to figure out how that realtor is bringing value to the park manager and figure out how you can go above and beyond that. So even though they're working with somebody else, asking more and more questions, just trying to figure out where is your unique selling proposition and then be able to articulate whatever that is. So we'll get into a few more of those in a second, but want to get back into you, Jeron. Want to talk about your first deal, man. I know, the profits are there, but you ran into a few problems specifically on the first deal. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So got the first deal under contract and was just, excited about it and ready to, just get it on the market and be done with it. Because it was about an hour and 15-minute drive from my house. So when I got into it, I was getting all my paperwork together, had the title work or whatever, and I happened to call the state just to verify that I had all the things that I needed to send off. And when I called the state, they looked up the property and said, "Oh, no, wait a minute. This is not personal property. This is real property that is attached to the land." So when I bought it, the seller, the mobile home was part of a package. There were three mobile homes and the land were all part of one package. And so they were like, you have to disconnect this mobile home from the land before you can treat it as personal property. So I was like, ooh, okay, I never dealt with that. So they walked me through everything I needed to do. So I had to get a law firm to run a title search, or a title company or a law firm, but title companies in that county, they wouldn't call me back. So I had to get a lawyer to run the report for me. And then I had to get a habitability inspection to work through that and some other forms to fill out. So, I got it done in about a week, all of it done. But I learned a lot of lessons. I learned just one, how to deal with real property. I learned how to work through that scenario. And now I'm more knowledgeable. I can advise people on it too. Like, hey, if this is real property, this is what you got to do to make it personal property.
Man, thank you for sharing that. That's another question that we get usually on our kickoff sessions is like, hey, what happens when I run into a home that's affixed to a property and it needs to become, unaffixed? So can we talk about that for a second? Like if you can give any tips to anyone that's about to run into that problem or going through that situation, what would you say to do?
I would start with the state, and in my state, they have a department specifically that does mobile home stuff. So get them on the phone and ask them exactly step by step what is this process. So when she was even telling me about the habitability study, I never heard of it. So I said, okay, I'm new to this thing. Can you tell me exactly what I need for the habitability? And so she's like, yes, make sure you have a fire extinguisher, make sure you have working smoke detectors, make sure all the windows can open and there's no cracks. So she just told me everything to make sure, the mobile home had in order to pass the inspection. And so I just kind of went by the book. Now, finding the law firm was a little more difficult because the title companies that I found didn't work with that particular county. And the county I was working in was a small county, and there were only a few title companies, and they just weren't working with me. So I had to actually reach out to a lawyer in another city that finally found one. So I probably called 3 or 4 law firms and probably 5 or 6 title companies before I found somebody that would actually do it and work with me. They were a little, it cost $350 to do it, which, wasn't, because I knew the profit I was going to make, that wasn't a big deal. And it took about a week. It was a little bit frustrating, just trying to work through some stuff I had never worked with before. But I guess the one thing I would say to a new person is once you do it and you learn it, then you know it. And you're that much more knowledgeable. And so though you're paying for it, you're basically buying a lesson that help you in the long run.
No, that's awesome, because now when you run into those situations, you have a connection, you know who to call, you know what the process, you know how to, what the state's going to say, the paperwork. You're so much more knowledgeable just by going through that challenge and going through that hurdle. But I want to jump into your second deal. And I know you picked this home up for $1,000, and now you're selling it for $12,500. So what was the seller going through that you were able to pick this up for just $1,000?
And you also put 1,500 into it. So can you go into that as well?
Yeah. So got into a situation where basically the seller could no longer live in the home and needed to move away. And so the initial phone call was, hey, how much is it going to cost? The person dealing with the seller was like, hey, how much is it going to cost us to get rid of this home? And I was like, oh, okay.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. So wait, you're gonna pay me to deal with your problem? Okay. So at that point I knew, okay, this is interesting. And so, but at the same time, I really want to help them deal with this situation because they're still paying lot rent and all these kinds of things. And the person was no longer living in the home. So to make a long story short, I had a coaching session with one of the coaches, and because I didn't know how to approach it, and he said, well, this is what I would offer. And because and here's how you can justify your offer. And so I did that, offer what they said to offer. The home had to be completely cleaned out. I wasn't sure what kind of damage was in there, but I had a kind of an idea that it was in pretty good shape. And so that was that. Put 1,500 in was really painting, clearing out all of the stuff because there was a ton of stuff in the home. Cleared that out, cleaned it up, painted some areas, and did a little work on the HVAC. Did get that going well, and that was it. Oh, so, I also run some test ads, so I kind of knew what I could get.
Nice.
Cool. So, did you run those test ads before you even, gave the seller any type of money? So you knew, okay, perfect. So you knew exactly what the home could sell for. Now, for somebody that's new, that doesn't have any type of HVAC experience, did you do that yourself, or did you hire somebody to do that for you?
Man, I got to hook up on an HVAC guy.
Okay.
He does some side hustling, and so hey, I got to give you $50 to come look at this situation. And he was like, cool, So he just looked at it. He was fixed it in 5 minutes, and that was it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool. So then, you basically market the home, you find the buyer. What did the buyers have to say about the home, and what was the process of getting them approved through the park? And then did you collect the earnest deposit?
So I'm still in that process now. So I have a buyer I selected. They love the house, love the location. They're right now, he's going through park approval right now. So after this, I'm going to call the park and see how that's going as soon as we hang up. But so far, people really like it. They love the location. It's really the location of the park that people really like. So I didn't do any earnest money yet. They were wanting to give me cash. Well, I had another guy that wanted to give me $12,000 cash on the spot. But I was like, man, you got to get park approved. And he was like, well, and he didn't have all the things needed for the park approval. So I was like, I don't want to take your cash and you not get approved. So this guy has the cash, but I said, go ahead and get approved first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, for anybody that's in that situation, I know it's really, really tempting, but you want to hold off from doing any type of work with the seller. Remember that happened on our first deal where we were so hungry, we took the money, we ended up owing the park an extra $5,000 because the buyer actually wanted to move the home out. We didn't even know what a storage agreement really was on our first couple of deals. So just be a little patient, go through the approval process. The right person will go through that process and give you every penny you want for the home as long as you're marketing at the right price. So
absolutely. And Coach Goley this is who helped you out, right? Coach Goley on your deals. He said, good morning, Jeron. You are the man. I'm so flipping proud of you and your success. You're a rock star. So how was your relationship with him? I mean, I know you guys are in the same location. So how was he able to help you kind of get through these deals?
Man, just telling me what to do, because I called him. I was like, I don't know what to do. What should I offer? In the first deal, he was like, wait, you can buy this for $3,500, a 1998 3.2 in Texas. He was like, man, those sell for. He's like, you can sell that for this. He said, but don't sell it for less than $8,000. And when that guy dropped that $8,000 cash, I thought about Coach Go. Hey, it's $8,000. Cash. Let me get out of here. And then with the second deal, he kind of helped me figure out how to structure the deal, just so that all the I's were dotted, T's were crossed, the proposal was, legit, and just encouraging me, like, man, I would do it. Because at first I was a little nervous to pull the trigger on the first one. He was like, man, I would do it. Just jump out there. I would do it. I was like, all right, well, let me just jump out here and see what happens. So he's been encouraging every step of the way.
Awesome. I love that. I love that he's pushing you too. Like, so you got to take the risk. You got to jump out there. You got to do it. And the great thing is that he knows your market. So it's amazing that you guys he can kind of give you some really, really good advice on that. So Jeron, what's next? I mean, 6 weeks in, you're already, doing some amazing things. 2 deals closed. Over the next 6 weeks or the next, in 90 days, what can you actually accomplish, or what's your?
I'm expecting you to double that at least.
Come on,
the very minimum, double that.
Well, when we had our kickoff call with Samara, she said, "What's your goal?" I said, "Well, my goal is like to close 2 deals by the end of the year." She was like, "I think you could probably do more than that." And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe 4." So we're at 2 now. So I think I can probably do at least 2 more by the end of the year. My goal is 2 more by the end of the year. And so what's next is just keep staying on the grind. Tonight's Friday night. Today's Friday. Tonight, putting out signs tonight, meeting with a seller tomorrow. I mean, just doing the same stuff that I've been doing, and just continue to pound the pavement for seller leads. I will be getting into some direct mail, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and to try to get even more seller leads, and just continuing to do the same things I've been doing, not overcomplicate it, not get cute with it, same stuff, signs, driving for dollars, talking to park managers.
Hey, man, with you getting into direct mail, I'm going to tell you one person, Coach Boyd. I think there's value for value there. He says, hey, Jeron, I'm gonna need that lawyer, bro. I'm about to do the same thing with the home. I'm now getting it converted from real property. So connect with him, man. He's the guy that you want to connect with in terms of getting that mail campaign set up and getting it sent out, especially in your state, man. I think he's going to be a big help for you. I want to know this. This has been great. I think you've been delivering a lot of value. I want to get into a couple more challenges people are having. Do you have a couple minutes to kind of go through those?
Sure.
Cool. David says his biggest challenge for us is the park itself. It doesn't have the best reputation in the area, with lot rent a bit higher than the average. So what would you do in this situation? Let's just say, you found a motivated seller, you can make some money on the home, but the park, the reputation, you've heard the park manager, she's kind of like stern when it comes to the rules, and the lot rent's a little bit higher in that area.
Ooh, um, I
Oh,
guess,
Coach
yeah,
Gully.
call Coach Gully, right? That's what Coach Gully. I might encourage the buyer to look at what it would take to maybe move the home out of the park if they just really didn't want to deal with the park itself. Um, I think what I've also am learning are people who are unhappy with a park. There are opportunities in there because there's probably a bunch of people that aren't happy with the park, and
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Yeah, no, hey, you answered the best you could. I would say, it comes down to the data. So usually whenever we hear, lot rent's high, if you're looking in places in Florida, some places like in Tampa, around Jacksonville even, or places out in California, park rents might be a lot higher than usual. However, you can drive through those communities and just see, hey, are there a bunch of vacancies? If there's not, chances are people are willing to still go inside those parks, live inside those homes, because chances are the lot rent is still cheaper than, the average size apartment in that area, or even, homes in that area, right?
Yeah, and sometimes, that is an incentive for you, depending on, how much flexibility you have on the selling price.
Yeah.
You could also say, hey, we can add, an extra discount on the property so that you can use that for a lot rent in the future. And like Jay said, it's really about the vacancies in the park approval process. There's always an opportunity. You can move the home out of the park, but it's not always the best situation. You really have to fill that out.
Like Jeron said, and you said, you can always move it out, but you got to make sure what are the rules in your state when it comes to first right of refusal. So before moving the home, just figure out what the real issue is when it comes to reputation. What is the issue? Is the park really stern on keeping the outside of your home up to a certain standard? Or is it with trash? Is it with noise? Figure out what that is. And then at least you have that information so you can communicate that to your buyers. Some buyers, they're willing to go through all that just because their situation is that bad. They'll still move into the home. If all else fails, then look into finding a buyer that wants to move the home. If the home is like a post-HUD home, you have that option available as well.
Yeah, and it really depends on what the reputation is. You know, is it that they're not friendly with their tenants?
They don't give you a lot of time if you're not paying rent on time. Just figuring out what that is, because sometimes we hear things and sometimes it's just stories. It's not really the truth. It's not the fact. So dig a little bit deeper there. Another question from Stuart. What's going on, Stuart? Stuart, we just had a conversation yesterday. I appreciate you joining. Stuart says, have you ever had a park manager try to steal your deal when your client goes to them to get approved? Oh, hell yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why what we try to do is we take a earnest money deposit first to lock them in, because we found in certain areas, parks will try to get them to homes that they've been trying to get off their books for a while. A lot of the newer homes, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They will try to push them. Well, that's an older home. Have you ever thought of looking at this home, especially if they get a commission on it? So you have to be very careful. We've known investors that will only walk their buyers in hand to make sure that none of that conversation goes on. But like Jay said, there's ways around that. Definitely be careful. You just never know. And you don't want to have an eager buyer pull out on you on the last minute.
Cool. And then we'll get to one more. Brian says, met a seller who may want some help to flip. Is this a good idea for my first deal? I bring knowledge. He has the mobile home sitting vacant. I will receive a percentage at the time of sale. No cost for me other than time. Brian, if you found, Jeron, if you found a home, a seller that was motivated, the home is vacant, would you, look into exploring that opportunity for your first deal? Because I know I would.
He said, okay, you met a seller. You may want to help them. This is a good idea.
So basically, you're going to be helping the seller pretty much sell the home. Would you take your time if it was the right deal? You did your research. You know that the home is vacant. You know that there's buyers in your market that are wanting a home like this, especially if it's like a double wide built in the late 80s. And let's just say it's sitting in a 3 to 5 star community. Would you take your time to go out there and try to bring some value to the market and get paid for it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's so many benefits to just getting out there and meeting people and working. I mean, because while if you work with them and you find some buyers, there may be a buy. You're just going to meet people. I mean, you just want to be, and you're going to learn stuff. So any kind of situation where you can make some money on it, especially early on, that's what I'm learning is you're basically paying me for me to learn, for me to get the knowledge. I had a deal. I'll say this real quick. That same park manager that gave me my second deal, she tried to give me my third deal. And it was, if I would have been able to wholesale it like I wanted to, I would have made $3,500. But the dude with the seller lived out of state, and he's like, I don't do anything online. You have to mail me the paperwork. So I mailed him the paperwork, and before he got it, a family member of his found him a buyer. And so he was like, hey, we've already been working. I need your help to do the paperwork. So I don't have a printer. I'm not on the internet. Can you come with me when I sell it to make sure I'm filling out the paperwork right? And so I went, showed up, made a couple calls to the state, helped him work through a couple of new forms, inheritance form and some other stuff. And he paid me $350 and was like, man, I appreciate, you helping me, working with me on the paperwork. And I learned 2 new forms in the state and got $350 just for basically 2 phone calls and a 30-minute meeting.
Showing up.
If you know anything about us, we always preach take massive action. If you're sitting back just questioning, what should you do? The thing you should be doing is getting out there and just taking action and not being afraid to, learn from any mistakes that you make.
Yeah, and bringing value. That was valuable to him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though it didn't work out, you didn't make the most money that you wanted to on that deal, you still brought a ton of value to him and you learned something in the process. So everybody wins at the end of the day.
I like this comment that just came in too. Coaching, being coachable, trust in the process, and persistence equals deal. Jeron, 3 more.
Let's go 3 more. He's pushing it up. He said 2. Let's go 3.
All right.
Yeah, man. I think it's just a matter of time before you hit that next level of growth. I'm so excited that you're focused on still keeping the basic forms of marketing, getting those out there. You talked about, hey, I'm still talking to park managers. Sounds like you're still driving for dollars. You're still getting your signs out, talking about getting those out this weekend. However, you're also looking into getting into some more advanced levels of marketing. The one piece of advice we would give to you is just continue to reach out for help. Don't try going at it alone. The quicker you can, be coachable, learning this new process and bringing in new people that can help you, scale your business. That's how you really see success. If you're just trying to rush it and do everything on your own, it leads to burnout.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Jeron, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I mean, you're only 6 weeks in and you're killing it. You're understanding the process. You're bringing value, building relationships. You're doing all of the right things. And I can only imagine by the end of the year where you'll be just by continuing the same energy, the same mindset, and just continuing to put in action. We appreciate you trusting us as well as our coaches to help get you this far. But you still have a lot more work to do, man. We got to double and triple these results. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you guys for all that you do. Really appreciate it.
For sure. Our pleasure. And if you guys are interested in getting started, I know there's a lot of beginners watching this live. Do not wait. Do not wait. In 6 weeks, you could be doing what Jeron's doing right now. If you're continuing to wait and sit in analysis paralysis, you're actually doing yourself an injustice. So we're going to leave a link below this video. Go ahead and apply to join the family, join the team. The coaches are here to help. We're here to help. Our whole community is ready to partner with you and get some deals done. So be sure to apply at the link below and we'll be sure to take care of you. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks, Jeron, again. We will be catching you soon.
All right. Take care.